Arise, sir! Mr. Worthing, from the son of the Cumberland posture, it is most indecorous.
Mamma, please! I must ask you retire. This is no place for you. Besides, Mr. Worthing has not quite finished yet.
Finished what, may I ask?
I am engaged to Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
I beg your pardon. You are not engaged to anyone. And when you do become engaged, I or your father, his health permitting, will inform you of the fact an engagement should come upon a young girl as a surprise, pleasant or unpleasant, whichever the case may be. It is hardly something that she should be allowed to decide for herself. And now I have a few questions to put to you, Mr. Worthing. And while I make these inquiries, Gwendolen, you will wait for me below in the carriage.
Mamma!
The carriage, Gwendolen!
Hello, Mark.
Hello.
Welcome back to the Cotswolds.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Why did you choose this particular play to direct and work on?
It's always been one of my favourites. It's always been something that I've thought about doing for a very long time. I studied it when I was at the Star Centre in Gloucester. I performed it as part of my experience at the Literature Festival there and played Jack. And so it's something I've had in my mind for a very long time, really.
What is it like working on such a classic as Oscar Wilde's The Importance of Being Earnest?
It's very tricky because he's very verbal and it's all about the words, it's all about the breathing, it's all about the delivery of the line, and it's all about finding the pauses and finding the gaps when you need to breathe. So there's actually a massive technique in order to deliver massive long pieces of dialogue, which obviously you only discover once you're up and running.
I've been bound to tell you, Mr. Worthing, that you are not down on my list of eligible young men. It is the same list as the dear Duchess of Bolton has. We worked together on it, in fact. But, however, I am quite willing to enter your name should your answers be what a truly affectionate mother requires. Do you smoke?
Well, yes, I must admit, I do smoke.
I'm glad to hear it. Men should always have an occupation of some kind. There are far too many idle men in London as it is.
Have you had to make any alterations in the script so you could play Lady Bracknell with your disability?
Yes, I mean, it's hilariously funny having someone play her with a disability because there's a big speech at the beginning of her entrance where she talks constantly about being ill or being an invalid or invalid, as she puts it, and she's terribly patronising about the whole issue of disability. So it's kind of ironic, really, and adds another level of comedy.
How has the process been directing and acting at the same time?
I would say it's been very hard, having to wear two heads at the same time. And a lot of the time, I was really conscious of doing many things all at the same time. And it isn't really until the last week where we are now that I'm actually beginning to think of myself as an actor and not a director. So I'll be very happy once we're up and running and I don't have to think about a million things to do.
I understand you've opened your own production company during the pandemic.
I have. It's called Dramacop Productions, which is the Gaelic word for drama. And I set it up as a result of people saying to me for a long, long time, you should either open your own agency or you should open your own production company. And I decided the production company was the way forward. To consciously make an effort of employing both disabled and able-bodied actors working together, so it will be a completely integrated company on every project, which I'm very excited about.
You have lots of new exciting productions coming up for the rest of the year. Can you tell us about them?
I do. After this, I'm going in to production of Talking Heads by Alan Bennett, playing Graham Whittaker, as in Chipping the Sugar, and that's at the Chelsea Theatre in October, which I'm directing and also working on. And then I'm not directing A Christmas Carol at the Actors' Church in November in Covent Garden. So I couldn't get any more removed from Lady Bracknell if I tried. And it's been a hell of a challenge the whole year to be going from one character to the next, really. I never thought when I put in the application that it would really happen.
Thank you very much for joining us today, and we wish you all the best of luck with your new production company.
Thank you very much.
How old are you? 32. 32. A very attractive age to be married at. I've always been of the opinion that a man who desires to get married should know either everything or nothing. Which do you know?
I know nothing, Lady Bracknell.
I'm so pleased to hear it. I do not approve of anything that tampers with natural ignorance. Ignorance is like an exotic fruit. Touch it and the bloom is gone. The whole theory of modern education is radically unsound. Fortunately, in England, at any rate, education produces no effect whatsoever. For if it did, it would probably prove to be very detrimental to the upper classes and lead to acts of violence in Grosvenor Square. What is your income?
Between £7,000 and £8,000 a year.
In land or investment?
Investments, chiefly.
That is not unsatisfactory. What with the duties expected of one during one's lifetime and the duties extracted after one's death? Land has ceased to be a profit or a pleasure. It gives one position, but prevents one from keeping it up. That is all that can be said about land.
I do have a country house with some land, of course, attached to it. About 1,500 acres, I believe. But I don't rely on that for my real income. And actually, as far as I can make out, the poachers are the only ones who can make anything out of it.
A country house? How many bedrooms? Oh, no matter. That point can be cleared up afterwards. But you do have a townhouse, I hope. A girl with such an unspoiled nature as Gwendolen could hardly be expected to reside in the country.
Oh, I do have a house in Belgrave Square, but it's currently let by the year to Lady Bloxham, though I can get it back whenever I like, at 6 months' notice.
Lady Bloxham. I don't believe I know her.
Oh, she goes about very little. She's extremely advanced in years.
Oh, nowadays, that is no guarantee of respectability of character. What number, Belgrave Square?
149.
The unfashionable side. I thought there was something. However, that can easily be altered.
The fashion or the side?
Both, if necessary, I presume. What are your politics?
I'm afraid I don't really have any. I'm a liberal unionist.
Oh, well, they count as Tories. Well, they dine with us in the evening at any rate. And now, on to minor matters. Are your parents living?
No, I'm afraid I've lost both my parents.
Mr. Worthing, to lose one parent may be regarded as a misfortune. To lose both looks like carelessness. Who was your father? He was evidently a man of some wealth. Was he born in what the radical papers call the purple of covers? Or did he rise from the ranks of the aristocracy?
Well, I don't really know, Lady Bracknell. You see, I say I lost both my parents. It would be nearer the truth to say it seems both my parents lost me. I was, well, found.
Found?
Yes, old Mr. Thomas Cardew, a kind and charitable man, found me and gave me the name of Worthing. Because he had a first-class ticket to Worthing in his pocket at the time. Worthing is a place in Surrey. It's a seaside resort.
And where did this charitable gentleman with a first-class ticket to this seaside resort find you?
In a handbag.
A handbag?
Yes, a large, brown, somewhat capacious handbag with handles to it. An ordinary handbag, in fact.
And where did this Mr. John or James Cardew come across this ordinary handbag?
In the cloakroom of Victoria Station, it was given to him in mistake of his own.
The cloakroom at Victoria Station.
Yes, the Brighton line.
The line is immaterial, Mr. Worthing. To say I am somewhat bewildered by what you have just told me. To be born, or at any rate bred in a handbag, whether it has handles on it or not, seems to me to display an utmost contempt for the ordinary decencies of family life, which reminds one of the worst excesses of the French Revolution, and I presume you know what that unfortunate movement led to. And as for the particular locality in which the handbag was found, a cloakroom at a railway station, well, it may prove to conceal a social indiscretion before now, and has probably been used for that purpose. But it can hardly be regarded as an assured basis for a recognised position in good society.
Well, what do you expect me to do, Lady Bracknell? You know I would do anything in the world to ensure Gwendolyn's happiness.
I strongly advise you, Mr. Worthing, to try and acquire some relations as soon as possible, and to make every effort to produce one parent of either sex before the season is quite over.
Well, I don't know how you expect me to do that. I can produce the handbag at a moment's notice. It's in my dressing room at home. Surely that should be enough to satisfy you, Lady Bracknell.
Me, sir? What has it got to do with me? You can hardly imagine that I, or Lord Bracknell, would dream of allowing our only daughter, a girl brought up with the utmost care, to marry into a cloakroom and to form an alliance with a parson. Good morning, Mr. Worthing.